We can start whenever you would like, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu, we can start.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Welcome to the ISKCON Portland Sunday Feast, not Sunday Feast, the Sunday Srimad Bhagavatam class. So let us recite the Mangalacharan prayers, and then we will recite the invocation prayers for Srimad Bhagavatam. And then we will have a discussion on this verse from Canto 1, Chapter 10, verse number 7. So first, let's recite the Mangalacharan prayers. I will share the screen. These prayers are in the beginning of the introduction to Bhagavad Gita as it is. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha. Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitanscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarini He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaur Bhaktavrit. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we can recite the invocation verses for Srimad Bhagavatam now. Please try to repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So today we have the fortune of going through Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 10, verse number 7. So I will share the screen. Is it the size okay, or should I make it bigger? Okay. So the verse is, we will repeat the verse, we'll recite the verse and then read the purport and have some discussion. So the verse, if possible, we can repeat after me, you can unmute, and or you can repeat it afterwards. Ushitva hastinapure masan. Thank you. Masan katipayan harihi.
Masan katipayan harihi.
Suhridam cha vishokaya.
Suhridam cha vishokaya.
Swasushcha priyakamyaya.
Vashushcha priyakamyaya.
Thank you. Once more we will do it. Ushitva hastinapure.
Ushitva hastinapuri.
Masan katipayan harihi.
Masan katipayan harihi.
Suhridam cha vishokaya.
Suhridam cha vishokaya.
Swasushcha priyakamyaya.
Vashushcha priyakamyaya.
One more time. Ushitva hastinapure.
Ushitva hastinapuri.
Masan katipayan harihi.
Masan katipayan harihi.
Suhridam cha vishokaya.
Suhridam cha vishokaya.
Swasushcha priyakamya.
Vashushcha priyakamyaya.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Would you like to lead it once?
Ushitva hastinapuri masan katipayan harihi. Suhridam cha vishokaya. Vashushcha priyakamyaya.
Thank you, Mataji. Any other devotees would like to repeat?
उषित्वा हस्तिनापुरे मासान् कतिपयान् हरिः सुहृदं च विशोकाय स्वशुश्च प्रियकाम्यया. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thanks, Prabhuji.
उषित्वा हस्तिनापुरे मासान् कतिपयान् हरि सुहृदं च विशोकाय स्वसुश्च प्रियकाम्यया.
Thanks, Mataji. Anyone else?
उषित्वा हस्तिनापुरे मासान् कतिपयान् हरिः सुहृतां सविशोकाय स्वासुश्च प्रियकाम्यया. Hare Krishna, thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. Okay, anyone? Okay, then we can continue with the synonyms. Ushitva, staying. Hastinapure, in the city of Hastinapura. Masan, months. Katipayan, a few. Hari, the Lord Sri Krishna. Suhridam, relatives. Cha, also. Vishokaya, for pacifying them. Swashu, the sister. Cha, and Priya Kamyaya, for pleasing. Translation. Shri Hari, Lord Shri Krishna, resided at Hastinapur for a few months to pacify his relatives and please his own sister, Mother Subhadra. Purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charna Arvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Krishna was to start for Dwarka, his own kingdom, after the battle of Kurukshetra and Yudhishthira's being enthroned. But to oblige the request of Maharaj Yudhishthira and to show special mercy to Bhishma Dev, Lord Krishna stopped at Hastinapur the capital of the Pandavas. The Lord decided to stay, especially to pacify the aggrieved king, as well as to please Subhadra, sister of Lord Sri Krishna. Subhadra was especially to be pacified because she lost her only son, Abhimanyu, who was just married. The boy left his wife, Uttara, mother of Maharaj Parikshit. The Lord is always pleased to satisfy his devotees in any capacity. Only his devotees can play the parts of his relatives. The Lord is absolute. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, this whole chapter is titled Lord Krishna's Departure to Dwarka. That is the title of this chapter. And what is happening right now in this verse is Maharaj Yudhishthir has requested Lord Krishna to stay for some more time. And Lord Krishna agrees to that request. So, this is a very, so to say, I was just thinking what all points to bring out in this verse. But there are so many points that can be, doesn't, at least initially to me, it didn't seem like that, what all can be said on this verse. It has a short purport and things like that. But there are so many points to be brought out in this verse. There is a lecture also by Srila Prabhupada on this verse. And he brought out some points which I will try to summarize if I understood them correctly. And some other points also to be brought out. So the first thing that comes to light directly in this verse from the purport of Srila Prabhupada is that the Lord is very, very affectionate and kind and compassionate and loving towards his devotees. So he had already been in Hastinapur, but he stayed for some more time based on the request of Maharaj Yudhishthir. And the Lord always wants to please his devotees. So the Lord is as has been said many times, is Bhakta Vatsala. So we have seen this, of course, in many cases. One of the most prominent places where this concept of Lord being Bhakta Vatsala comes very clearly is when he accepts the position of charioteer for Arjuna. And the Lord is ready to do anything, basically, for his devotees. The devotees also know what to ask from the Lord. Now, here comes another very, very important point. Here we see that in this purport, as Srila Prabhupada has written, and we also know from the pastimes of Mahabharata, etc., that Arjuna and Subhadra had the son Abhimanyu. And he was just married to Uttara. And he died. He was 16 years old, it is said in the Mahabharata, at the time of his death. So he was in his full youth. That is the time when parents would like to, see their son flourish and, do great things and, have a very wonderful relationship with the child. And this only son Abhimanyu was lost from Subhadra. And who is Subhadra? Subhadra, Mother Subhadra, is the sister of Lord Krishna. So the point that comes to mind is that even somebody who is so elevated as Mother Subhadra has to face all these calamities, that the only child being taken away. And she is the sister of God. Imagine that. So God's sister had to undergo such devastation and calamity. I also have two young children, young as in like almost, 17, 18, whatever in that age. It is so unimaginable that one should go through this, kind of calamity of losing the only child. So why does Lord Krishna, or why do the devotees of Lord Krishna have to undergo so much calamity? In some cases, Arjuna lost all his children. He had children, some through Draupadi. All of them were also killed by Ashwatthama, who we know from the previous chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam. He wanted to kill the Pandavas, but he ended up killing the sons of the Pandavas and Draupadi. And so much calamity, even after the war is over, the battle is won. The devotees of the Lord, Draupadi, who is such a wonderful devotee, the Lord saved her so many times in the past from various calamities, but not from this one. The Lord saved Arjuna from so many calamities, but not from this one. Subhadra is the sister of Lord Krishna, but still she was not spared from this misery, this pain of losing her child. Uttara, who was just married, Maharaj Parikshit, who has not even seen the father, he will be living all his life as almost like an orphan child without a fatherless child. So he was brought up by all his grandparents. He had such wonderful grandparents, the Pandavas, who brought him up. And we see that Pandavas are so detached from the material world that as soon as Maharaj Parikshit is ready to take on the throne, they install him on the throne and they leave. So he was brought up by his grandparents, and pretty much they were waiting to raise him, put him as the king, and leave him. So why do the devotees of the Lord have to undergo so much misery, so much calamity? We are not even devotees of the Lord. I am not, a devotee. I'm trying sometimes, not all the time, to be a devotee. And yet we want all these facilities first from the Lord. The moment we start our devotional journey, we first want all the returns. And there are these relatives of the Lord. Arjuna is a relative of the Lord. Subhadra is sister of the Lord. And they undergo so much misery. So any idea, any discussion from devotees here, why do they have to undergo this misery? Any discussion, any devotees want to share their thoughts?
One point is coming to my mind is, Prabhu, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but if it is to tell to all of us that even devotees are not an exception, from calamities, but still, by example of Arjuna and Uttara, how they have taken shelter of the Lord when they are put in such a calamities in their life, right? So that's an example for all of us also, who are trying to be devotees, as you said, sometimes praying to Krishna. And usually we feel that when we are put in some difficulty, we think that why Krishna is doing all this to us. We are chanting every day, and we are reading some, we are hearing some, and still Krishna is putting us in a difficulty. So to just, come out of that kind of attitude, Krishna has given so many examples, as you have very beautifully mentioned about, so many examples you have given now, how devotees are put into a lot of difficulties in their life. And when they are put into difficulties in their life, what they are doing actually. they're just taking shelter of Krishna, right? Even Pandavas and Uttara ran to Krishna when Brahmastra was put to her, right? So just to make us understand that what we have to do when we are put in difficulties arises in our lives as per our previous papa and punya, pious and impious activities. But whatever the situation, we have to always be in the shelter of Krishna, and we have to take shelter of Krishna. So that's what I think, Prabhu. That's coming to my mind. I don't know. Please correct me, Hare Krishna.
No, you are 100% correct, Mataji. Very nicely said.
Thank you so much.
Any other devotees want to add?
Krishna Prabhu is, thank you, Radhakund Mataji, very beautifully you explained to Mataji. One thing which I, if I want to add something, please correct me if I'm wrong, Prabhu, is that when this is the same Nyaya Sudisipu, which devotees mentioned, that if the mother-in-law wants to show, tell correct daughter-in-law, right? She uses the daughter as example and tells, hey, you should not do like this. It's actually talking to daughter-in-law. So same way, to show the living beings in general as to how should one take. Everyone will go through these situations, tribulations in life. But as Madhya mentioned, what do they do after getting down, after falling down? What do they do? Get back up. So through his devotees, because they totally surrendered to the Lord, they said, okay, Krishna, make me dance. Whatever you want to do, make us do, please do it. And show the entire world through us. Just like Arjuna, acted on our behalf, so to say. Even though as a pure devotee, he was confused, so to say, apparently confused, making us, showing us as example that, yes, if you get confused, what's supposed to do? We're supposed to do Bhagavad Gita. Similarly, the Krishna is showing that when the devotees go through these tribulations, any living entity goes through these tribulations, what are they supposed to do? Right? It's just using their devotees, his devotee as a medium to show the people in general. That's what I think.
Very nice. Wonderful. Beautiful. Any other devotees want to add? I think they both have said everything, more or less. Not much left to add, but any other devotees want to phrase it in their words?
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna is very, very kind of us, and sometimes when devotee prays with full heart, and if she or he deserve to that, he will come definitely and do something, in my understanding, Prabhuji.
Yes, very true.
Yeah.
So many things we see here, that what do devotees ask and what does Krishna give? So what is shown here as Narottam Vilas Prabhu and Radha Kunda Mataji described, that what is Lord trying to show through his devotees, as Srila Prabhupada has mentioned here in the purport. Only the devotees can play the part of his relatives, nobody else, because like Narottam Vilas Prabhu said, it's like, mother-in-law, if she wants to correct the daughter-in-law, she doesn't directly speak like that. She speaks to her own daughter. So the Lord puts his own devotees into such a situation so that we can learn from that. And what is the devotee's reaction? Like Radha Kunda Mataji said, the devotees here, Mother Subhadra or Arjuna or Draupadi could have very well asked Krishna to bring back their son to life, their sons. They knew that Krishna had brought back Sandipani Muni's son to life. They knew that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord. It is not unknown to them at all. Arjuna has heard the full Bhagavad Gita. There is absolutely no doubt in his mind that there was never any doubt before. Definitely after Bhagavad Gita, we have no doubt that he has no doubt. So they could have asked to bring back their children to life. God can do anything. Least of all, bringing a dead man to life again. That's very easy. But what did they do? They did not do anything other than taking shelter of the Lord. That's what they did. All Yudhishthir Maharaj is asking is for the Lord to stay for some more time so that they can have the Lord's association. They can have the opportunity to serve Lord Krishna some more. So that is what the devotees take shelter of, is the Lord's shelter, the Lord's lotus feet. That is their only shelter. So we have to see what they asked for. The Srimad Bhagavatam does not describe that, oh, they could have asked for this, or they did not ask for this, they did not ask for this. Doesn't make sense. It is for us to realize if they asked for X, it means they rejected everything else, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to Z, except for X, which means whatever that they are asking for, which is Krishna's association, is the most important among everything else that they could have asked for. And especially, I was hearing one lecture. It is present on srimadbhagavatamclass.com by a devotee on this particular verse. And he was mentioning very nicely that, especially in the case of Mother Subhadra and Abhimanyu's being killed in the battle, there was a higher purpose. And that higher purpose was the advent of Srimad Bhagavatam. The advent of Srimad Bhagavatam was going to happen. Lord Krishna obviously knew that. And he very much had planned that Srimad Bhagavatam should be advented and should stay in this material world to give light to this whole universe long after Lord Krishna has ended his pastimes in this world. So to make that happen, it was very necessary that Maharaj Parikshit is born in this particular way, in a posthumous way. And not only was he born in a posthumous way, there was an attempt on his life, assassination attempt, even when he was in the womb of his mother, Uttara. And at that time, Lord Krishna did save Parikshit Maharaj. So the Lord had it all planned and orchestrated. And he went into the womb of Mother Uttara. And we have heard that story, or you may have read that story given in Srimad Bhagavatam in Canto 1, chapters 7 and also 12. Both of those chapters describe this in various contexts. How Ashwatthama had shot the Brahmastra to finish off the dynasty of the Kurus, of the Pandavas. And Lord Krishna wanted to save Parikshit. If he wanted, he could have saved Abhimanyu. If he wanted, he could have saved anyone. But that is the Lord's plan, and the devotees accept that plan. And in this particular case, the Lord saved Parikshit Maharaj. And Parikshit Maharaj could see the Lord even when he was in the womb as an embryo. And that is why he is given the name Parikshit. Parikshit means examiner, one who always examines everyone. So when he saw the Lord in the womb, and the Lord can come at any time, he knows the Lord could be present anywhere. He is fully independent and can, so he was always searching that maybe the Lord is with me here, maybe the Lord is with me here. And he would always look at everyone and see, is this the same person as the one I saw in the womb? That is why he is called Parikshit. He was in such good consciousness, always in Krishna consciousness. So Maharaj Parikshit was the perfect person to receive the Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukadev Goswami. And this is sort of the part of the plan, the overall plan of Lord Sri Krishna to advent the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it goes far back, including the point where Abhimanyu had to be killed and Maharaj Parikshit had to be born in this particular way, where he is always searching for Krishna, culminating at the end of his life in finding Krishna in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So he finds Srimad Bhagavatam, which is Krishna, none other than Krishna. So that is the overall sort of the reason. If Abhimanyu had not been killed, then it is possible that one can imagine that even, he could have had other sons, even if Parikshit Maharaj was killed. Then Abhimanyu could have fathered other children and continued the dynasty. But that could not happen because Abhimanyu has gone. And now Parikshit Maharaj is the only one. And by seeing Krishna in the womb, when an attempt was made on his life, he became perfectly Krishna conscious throughout his life, and therefore became the perfect candidate to receive Srimad Bhagavatam. So all this is part of the Lord's elaborate plan. Another point, different point. So we discussed one major point, which is why do the Lord's devotees...
Thank you very much for elaborating.
Thank you, Mata. Thank you. So, by the way, your point was also very correct, that if we sincerely ask the Lord for relief from material misery, the Lord definitely gives that. Definitely he gives. But that is a slightly lower level of asking the Lord. But in beginning stages, or even in very advanced stages of devotional life, one can do that with the purpose in mind that if my material miseries are gone, then I can focus on my devotional service better. With that purpose, absolutely one can request the Lord to take away the miseries. So, for example, these just past few days, very wonderful devotee of Lord Krishna, Jai Pataka Maharaj, is undergoing a lot of misery. His bodily condition and all the devotees around the world are praying the Lord to make him better so that he can continue his service to Lord Sri Krishna. With that mood, one can definitely ask the Lord for relief from misery.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. One more point that is very important point to be brought up, and this is brought up in Srila Prabhupada's lecture on this verse, is that this clearly shows that the Lord is a person. The Lord has feelings. So here we can see that the Lord's heart melted by seeing the shoka. It says Vishokaya. So to remove the misery, the anguish, the pain in the heart of his devotees. So shoka means the sadness. To remove the sadness, Vishokaya, of his sister, Swasushcha, Priya Kamyaya, to please her and remove the shoka, the sadness from her heart, he stayed. So the Lord has feelings, and his feelings are just like our feelings. So God is a person. Now, I deliberately said the Lord has feelings just like ours. He has feelings like we have. Now, that is not the right way to say it. Srila Prabhupada mentions that in the Bible, it is written that man is created in the image of God. God is not created in the image of man. Man is created in the image of God, which means that we are like him. It's a wrong direction of the grammar or the language. If we say he is like us, if we say he is like us, it means we came first and he came next and he is like us. So when a child is born to parents, we say, oh, this child is looking just like his father. Or sometimes we say his nose is like the mother and eyes are like father, or whatever we say, isn't it? Because the parents are, so to say, at the material level, the cause of the child's birth. The parents caused the child. So you can say the child's face looks like mother's face. We never say mother's face is like the child. That would be foolish. Mother was born before the child was born. So mother can have whatever face there is based on her mother or her father, right? So we have to be very clear who is the cause and who is the effect. So when we say, oh, God's feelings are like our feelings, that is like saying, oh, the mother's face is like the child, as if the child gave the mother the face. So we should say we also have feelings just like God has feelings. God is the cause, we are the effect. We are the children of God. So Srila Prabhupada very beautifully bring out this point. So there's one point that the Lord is a person. He has feelings. He is personal. It's very, very clear from this verse and the other verses that he is having so much affection for his devotees. But the more deeper point that only Srila Prabhupada could bring out is that we get our personality from Krishna. Our personality comes because Krishna has a personality. There is absolutely nothing in the material world that is not present in Krishna. Krishna is the source of all qualities. And having personality, which we take so much for granted, we don't even think of it as a quality. We are a person, so we have a personality. What is so great in it? But when I was reading about this verse, because I had to prepare and give class and all that, that's the benefit, by the way, of giving class. You kind of are put in the sort of the spotlight and you have to think more on that verse or that topic. And I like that because it forces me to think. If I am not put into that spotlight, I would probably just read it superficially. So I enjoy preparing for classes, and I invite everybody to do that, to not for be giving classes and all these things, but it's just for some people, unless they are forced like me, it's a good forcing function to go deeper into the Shastra. In any case, so as I was trying to realize or understand this, it is nothing obvious that we should have a personality. It seems very obvious because we have from the day we are born, we have this propensity or this ahankar that I am, that's the personality. That whoever is that I am or me is the personality. With a small child, if you take away a toy from his hand, he will start crying. That's because he has this personality. This is toy is in my hands. Why it got taken away? It's not okay if it gets taken away. So I'm going to protest. And what can a child protest do? He's just crying. There is personality even a small child has. And there is nothing in the material world that is present that is not present in Krishna. Everything in the material world is coming from Krishna. The qualities in the material world are all the qualities of Krishna, except the difference is that we have these qualities in a minute capacity, in a minute quantity. Krishna has them in full. We have them in minute quantity. That's the only difference. So we can clearly see from here that our personality is coming, our identification, our feelings, everything is present only because Krishna has them already. And the fact that Krishna has them is very nicely coming out in this verse, where it is said that Lord Shri Krishna wanted to please his devotees, his friends, because they are so sad, they are so grief-stricken. And the Lord agreed to stay for a few more months. The other difference in our personality and Krishna's personality, so we mentioned there is one difference in quantity. Quantitatively, there is a difference. Qualitatively, it is the same. There is also a difference that in the material world, due to our association with asat sangha, and not only asat sangha, like association, but the hankering of that asat sangha, called asat trishna, which has grown slowly and slowly in our consciousness for millions of lifetimes. That personality has become dualistic. It has become contaminated. But due to our original quality, which is just the same as the Lord, we are looking for eternal happiness, eternal ananda. The Lord is full of happiness. He is Satchidananda, full of ananda. So our concept of happiness is to become like God. If we become God, we will be happy. And we are all trying to become little gods. Somebody by earning money, somebody by becoming famous, becoming very popular so that you can have all the people around you trying to say Jaya, Jaya to you, So all the, Jindabad, Jindabad, whatever. So people are doing all that for you. You feel like you're almost like God. So the desire is in everyone or this hankering is there for happiness. And that is also coming from Krishna. But it is misdirected because, and Srila Prabhupada brings it out very, very sweetly and very nicely, that we are looking for happiness in independence. We are looking for that same happiness by trying to become God. Not trying to take the shelter of God, but trying to become God. So that quality is there. But it is in a contaminated, or it is reversed, or you can say it's flipped. The quality of personality has been flipped. And we are also looking for happiness, but in an independent manner from Krishna. And that becomes the only problem. That becomes the biggest and the only problem, that we are looking for independent happiness from Krishna. But Srila Prabhupada says so nicely that nobody is independent. Absolutely nobody is independent in this material world. Everybody is bound by the laws of nature. So many people died in this pandemic. They didn't die by their own choice, out of independence. They died out of dependence. Dependence on so many things. Dependence in India, for example, when there was this wave of COVID, so many people, including some of my relatives, died outside the hospital waiting for an oxygen cylinder. They were in the line outside the hospital, and the hospital had no oxygen cylinders, and they died right outside. So they have their life was dependent on the mercy of the hospital or government or whatever to supply them with oxygen, and they did not get it. Srila Prabhupada mentions in his lecture, and of course these were the times when the Vietnam War was at its peak, and so many American young men were drafted for the war. They may not have wanted it, but just because you are a young man in that age group, you have to go fight. So in Srila Prabhupada says, this is such an independent country. We can say India is dependent or has been dependent on foreign rulers, Britishers and all the others for so many hundreds of years. You can say, okay, but America is independent. What is the meaning of independence? The government comes, the military comes and says, come on, take a gun, go fight. And if the bullet hits you, you die. So what is the independence that we have? We do not have any independence. Our constitutional position, our real position is of dependence. We are just hankering for the false independence. And if we find the right person to become dependent on, then everything will be fine. And that person is Lord Shri Krishna. And here from this verse, we see how all the devotees are dependent on the Lord, completely dependent on the Lord. They know nothing but the Lord as their shelter. So they are using their position as a dependent jiva, as somebody who is by nature has to be dependent, but putting their dependence on the right support. And then they become truly happy. Then their happiness becomes the quality of happiness, ananda, flourishes to its fullest extent. So that is another point that I wanted to bring out from this verse that Srila Prabhupada very, very deeply brought out. I invite you to hear Srila Prabhupada's lecture on this verse. And he brought out this point so nicely. So to summarize, we talked about two main points in today's discussion. In this verse, there are 2 points that I thought we should bring up. One point was, why do the devotees of the Lord, and not only devotees like, some practicing devotee, or we say aspiring devotee, or we say, all those aspects we add, but these are not aspiring or practicing devotees. These are the relatives of the Lord, his own sister, Arjuna, whom he directly spoke Bhagavad Gita to, and so on. Why do they undergo such misery? And what is the purpose? And especially in the case of Mother Subhadra, who lost her only son Abhimanyu, there was a bigger purpose behind that. So that was one point we covered. And the second point that we covered was regarding the personal aspect of Lord Shri Krishna. And we can easily say that The Lord is a person because we are a person and we are created in his image. So he must be a person because we have that, and everything, all quality that exists within us pre-exists, already exists in Krishna. That's the only way we can have it. So, but in our case, over long association, asat sangha, association with matter, it becomes perverted, convoluted. And even though our personality is that of dependence on Krishna, we face misery by trying to be independent from Krishna. But we are not independent. We are already dependent in so many ways. We just don't see it. We are like to stick our head in the sand and pretend it's not there. So if we change that and shift our dependence on Krishna, then our minute quality of Ananda will flourish in the fullest extent. So those were the two main points we covered today through this verse. Granth-raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any comments or discussion or corrections by devotees or questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanyavad Pranam Jai Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for a very nice explanations, Prabhu. Very, very nice points you have elaborated very beautifully. Thank you so much for that, Prabhu. Thank you for sharing so many things. The most, the things I like today's lecture was that initially you started, right, God, how he is very, very affectionate to his devotees. And moreover, he always wants to please his devotees. That is the reason why when Maharaj Yudhishthira wanted him to stay back in Hastinapura, he stayed back. He understands the hearts of his devotees and he reciprocates in such a beautiful, nice way. That is so nice to hear from you, Prabhu, today. And not only, Prabhu, the shelter when these devotees, calamities in devotees' lives, calamities comes. But the point I have understood, how they behave when calamities comes in their lives, that is okay. But the new thing what I have learned from you is, today is, God can give anything to his devotees actually, because he has brought the sons of Brahma from Emeraj also, and so many examples were there in Srimad Bhagavatam. But still, even though the devotees know about the Lord's power and everything, they haven't requested actually. Even Draupadi, that's a new point you brought today, that was really enlivening to know, Prabhu. Draupadi, when all her children are killed, she didn't ask Krishna to bring back them actually, right? So even though she was suffering so much, but she requested Krishna, she took shelter of Krishna when Durvasa Muni came, just to serve Lord's devotee. She requested Krishna, not for herself, and she was not selfish. And even when even Uttara also, just she wanted to save her child, but she didn't pray to Krishna, even though she is devotee, to bring back her husband, even though she knows God's power, right? So that is very, very beautiful to know today, Prabhu. Actually, thank you so much for bringing out that point, Prabhu. So this and moreover, for God, it's easy to do anything for his devotees, but still devotees are not expecting anything from God, even though they have been put in such a tremendous suffering situation. They just want the association of the Lord, nothing else, right? Even Pandavas, Kunti was prayers, Kunti was praying, please be with us, even though calamities comes in our lives, no problem, but you please be with us. So I was reminded that point also, Prabhu. Thank you so much for that. And moreover, another point I so much liked is, how Parikshit Maharaj were brought, for the advent of Srimad Bhagavatam, and by his name denotes Parikshit. He was always looking for Krishna throughout his life, and finally he could get Krishna through Bhagavatam. So, so that is so nice, Prabhu, that Bhagavatam is given to us. That is so nice to hear from you today, Prabhu. Thank you so much for that. And lastly, Prabhu, you talked about how, we should not say that God has same feelings like us. It's not that, God has same feelings with us. Whatever we have, that is coming from the Lord, actually. So Lord is our eternal Father, and everything is coming from Him. So that is also a very, very nice point you have mentioned, Prabhu. And finally, you have mentioned that we are not independent. Actually, we are as Srila Prabhupada mentioned. You have been sharing that, right, Prabhu? So we are completely dependent on Lord Krishna's mercy. So we are not any independent. We think that we are independent and we are doing and searching for sense gratification, happiness, and all that. But we are not, independent. We are dependent on God's mercy. So thank you so much for bringing out all these beautiful, wonderful points and explaining us like your explanations are very, very nice. That even a ignorant person, insignificant, ignorant, illiterate person like me can also easily understand. It goes into the brain, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhuji. It is very, very, very good and very important lecture. And what you say, God is great, and when devotee want, or everybody has to do their duties and responsibilities. That is main important, and God knows everything. What devotee has to deserve and for everything. And he most of the point is you already said that the relief is important. Relief means what that patient or devotee has to get that relief, he will give definitely. That is my understanding, Prabhu. Very,
Thank
very
you.
nice
Very
to
nice.
say that. Yeah, thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hi Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much again for the wonderful class. As always, you always emphasize on very important points that, like takeaway points that I'll always remember, will never forget. It was really nice, Prabhu. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Okay. Any other comments or questions?
Thank you, Prabhu. Sorry for joining late. Got occupied. The parts I heard were very enlightening and wonderful. Thank you for discussing the intimate relationships between the Lord and His devotees. It's always inspiring to hear those things. Anybody else have any other comments that they want to share? Okay. So, Parama Karuna Das Prabhu ki jai, Srila
Srila
Prabhupada
Prabhupada ki jai.
Sachinandan ki jai, Gaur Premanandi. So temple is open between 12:30 to 2:30.